to Heart. Real people having real conversations about things that matter most to you. I'm Sherry Elise.
I'm Cyrus Webb.
I'm Rich Osagara.
I'm Patrice Tanaka.
And we are Heart to Heart. Hello. Hey guys. Welcome to Heart to Heart. We are so thrilled to have you here with us. If you are watching live with us or watching in the replay, say hello. Let us know where you are tuning in from. Heart to Heart is an interactive talk show where you get to choose the topic. Each week, we ask you to send in questions and we reveal live on air what the question or topic will be. So let me introduce you to my awesome friends and co-hosts. Welcome, Cyrus, Rich, and Patrice. How are you guys today?
Doing great. We're back together again.
Imagine that. Look at how this all goes. What are you guys doing here? Come here often?
Just once a week.
Just once a week. Hello, Sarah. She's watching with us all the way from Australia. And wonderful Cody. We're happy to see you here. You guys, it has been an interesting week. I just want to first shout out and celebrate for those of you who do not know that today is International Day of Wigs. And so I know you're very excited. It's International Wig Day. And for those, I know.
Oh, cool.
I actually just found out about it. And so I was like, well, hell, I'm going to celebrate it. So I made this post today with me with all of my different wigs. And it had me actually start thinking about, when I first had to really, not had to, but like decided to come clean about the fact that I had worn wigs, because it took me about like 2 years before I really started openly talking about it. Like I used to wear clip-ins and then it would make my hair fall out more. And I had this moment at my job where my boss came in to take lint out of my hair. And I got so freaked out that like I jumped back and he was like, what's wrong? And I didn't know what to say. And so I said, oh, I thought you were going to hit me, which is crazy, right? Like, and it was in that moment that I realized, okay, Sherry, that's crazy, first of all. And you should really just start talking about it. And so I went home that night and I revealed in a blog, and I had a lot of blog followers, that I wore a wig. And it was one of the hardest things that I'd done, because I had this whole issue with self-acceptance and worthiness, and were people going to like me and what were they going to think of me? And when I woke up in the morning, I had over 100 emails and comments in my inbox from women and people who were really thanking me for coming clean about it. Mm-hmm. And from there on out, as you guys know, I just tell everybody, and I wear different ones all the time. And so I wanted to find out from you guys, like that was like a changing moment for me in taking a circumstance that you can't do anything about and really making the best of it. And, because I think so many people perhaps can run away from situations like that, or, keep beating themselves up over it. And so I was just wondering if you guys have ever had anything like that in your life where you've had to, I'm sure, like come to accept something about yourself and what that was, and, how you were able to really deal with it and do that. Rich, go.
Well, it's funny you should bring this topic up about coming clean, because I was debating whether or not I'd say something here today, and you just gave me permission to do that. So thank you. I got test results from the doctors yesterday. I have 5 different tests that are being run. And the first one came back saying that I have high cholesterol. And it's something that I've known and we were hoping would get better. And that is something I can do a lot about. But it's something like, it's amazing how much shame I have about this and how scared I am, because my dad has had 4 heart attacks. He's still alive. And it weighs heavy on me. And I've also been dealing with a lot of pain in my body. And some of these other tests may indicate what the source of that pain is. And, on social media, most people like to pretend like everything's peachy and sunshine and rainbows coming out of your behind. But, life is life. And on this show, that's what we talk about, right? This is what's on my heart. And so I'm coming clean right now with, I'm not feeling great, and my body hurts. I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. And whatever it is that I find out about myself, I am going to do exactly what you did about the wigs, is talk about it, because heart disease is one of the #1 killers in this country, and it's so preventable. So I feel so much better. Thank you. Thank you for opening with that question. No coincidence.
Yeah, go ahead, Cyrus. Yes.
No, I'm just thinking, Rich, first of all, we're going to be praying for you and keeping you in our thoughts. And I know, that they'll be able to help you figure out whatever is going on, so you can be able to feel better. It was interesting, Sherry, you're talking about this topic, because I think, it's a weird one. This is another weird one for me too.
Because you're perfect.
Being transparent is something that I try to work very hard on. And my insecurity that I have, again, is something I've talked about before, and that is something that continues. Even I had a situation today comes up. Sometimes this feeling guilty about good stuff, and so it's a weird thing, because I've always considered myself an empathetic person and a person who is in tune with other people, and I think sometimes part of that is my thinking, okay, well, I can't be as empathetic if I really don't know what they're dealing with, or or what they're going through, and that kind of thing. So it's interesting when Rick said about you show the good stuff. I try to also talk about this topic, because I think it's real. I mean, it sounds strange compared to some things that a lot of people are dealing with, but I think even just your own insecurity with yourself and your gifts and what you're able to do, I think, can be a hindrance for some people.
For sure. Yeah, go ahead, Patrice.
I was really trying to think of which one of the many things that I've, kept secretive all the past years. And right now, I really find it most liberating if I'm pretty much an open book. And that's why I like sharing, things that happen, less than attractive thoughts that I might have on occasion. And I guess one thing that strikes me is that people don't like to look wrong. They don't like, so they will go to great lengths not to apologize or not to say they're sorry. And it's like really comical, because the easiest way you can diffuse a situation is just to say, oh, I'm so sorry, and then, everybody can move on. But if you refuse to acknowledge you made a mistake and say you're sorry, it's almost like the other person is going to get into a tug of war with you until you say you're sorry. Mm-hmm. And if you're resisting doing that, oh my God, this could go on forever. So I just think that, being as open and as natural as you can be. And I love it when people, are kind of an open book, because then, you can really have a good conversation. And when they're just purely professional, I find it kind of exhausting to have to communicate on a superficial level, right? Some people tell me something, terrible or not so heroic about themselves, because it's like, wow, I have so much respect, for the courage that someone has to be vulnerable, to be open, like you did when you finally went, open with the wisdom.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though, because, not everybody has that in them. And I don't even know if everybody has to go out there and announce to the world what their thing is. I think the most important that I think is coming to the acceptance just for yourself, that this is what it is, maybe as Cyrus mentioned, I have insecurities about that. And then just the compassion and the acceptance that we give ourselves, that these are the struggles that I have and these are the challenges, and then how does one do that? I guess, is it something that you just talk to yourself about? Is it, a mindset trick? For me, because of what I learned as a young child and getting up on a witness stand with my abuse, I learned from a young age that in sharing there's healing. And so that's just always been who I am, but it doesn't mean everybody is that way, where they have to go and announce on social media that they wear a wig, right?
Right. Oh, one more thing that I started doing, one of my big habits, and, for a lot of people, a lot of women that I know who are overachievers, we're extreme micromanagers, which drives everyone in our life crazy, right? And so I will volunteer almost upfront immediately when I first meet people or I'm engaged with them in some project. Say, excuse me, I have to confess that I'm a recovering micromanager. So please forgive me if I go into overdrive here. I'm really trying to stop that. So just call me on it if I go there, right? Because everybody's thinking it and they can't stand it, right? But nobody's going to say it, and that kind of impedes the flow of honest conversation, right? And the group really working well together. So.
Yeah, might as well put a spotlight on it, right? I mean, that's how I deal with stuff. Like I said, just put like a spotlight on it, bring it to attention, announce it, you got it, and then just that whole work of, accepting it yourself.
Right.
I want to welcome Angie's here. We've got Mikan here. We've got Peter here. We've got Lark, which is my mother, here. If you guys are first tuning in, welcome to Heart to Heart. Very shortly, we're going to be revealing in the vault what question came in, what you've chosen. So we're all going to find out for the first time right along with you. Please go ahead and share this, because it's really important that we all just have these conversations where we're able to just share our hearts and speak openly about these types of things. Cody says that he grew up with a mom that never said sorry, so I always feel if anything goes wrong, it must be my fault.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Sherry, no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go. I was asking.
Sherry, I was just going to say, to go back to the point that you made earlier, you said something really interesting, and I've experienced this myself, and I'm sure Rich and Patrice have too, that when you do say what we're saying here, that people that do come to you and say, I'm so glad that you said that, I've been dealing with that same problem, or I've had that insecurity. I mean, that lets us know that how important that conversation is. And just like what Patrice was saying about putting things out there, that's where I think that openness and honesty from the heart can come from. When people know I'm not the only one. Like with what Cody was saying, I mean, there are a lot of people that can relate to that, to what Cody went through. And I think that connection definitely brings us together.
Yeah.
Well, just to add to all of that, just yesterday when I came back from the doctors, I was just so in my head about all of the different things that seemed to be going on in my body. And I went into the room and basically secluded myself. It's a one-bedroom apartment, so Cody only could be in the living room at that point. And I just cut myself off and was like in my head and going into the rabbit hole of all of the things that could be going on. And today I sat down with him before the show and said, okay, here's what's happening. And just being able to do that with him, lifted. I could start to see all right, so, worst case scenario, you have an autoimmune disease, which is one of the tests that's being taken. And then what? Are you going to be a victim to that? Or are you going to, are you going to thrive in the face of it? And it's a big question for me, right? And I have lots of friends who have gone through similar, serious situations, and I watch them be open and vulnerable about it. And Sherry, like you said, it's not for everyone to get on social media and just say, "Hey, I have this disease." I am one of those people though who would do that, because what I know now is that I'm not alone, and so many people are suffering with all kinds of health issues in this country and around the world. And as a leader, every day I tell myself I am a world-class leader. And as a leader, it's my obligation for me to be honest and forthright and to share with people what I'm going through, because it might help even one person to deal with what they're going through. So, but if that's not you, then tell at least one person what you're going through. Find one person you can confide in, because getting it off your chest just lifts so much of the heaviness, and then you have an ally in working towards a solution too. whatever may be going on.
I love that. And that's actually why we do this show. So we all can have this space to be able to speak openly, to be able to, talk about the things that we don't often talk about, or the things that we just want to get off of our chest, right? And this week is no different. We've got quite a few questions that came in this week. And here are some of them that came in. From Paul, asked how unique we all are and how we need to be comfortable with what works for you. Tracy sent in how to deal with menopause without being depressed. We all knew this one would come back in the mix. And then Amy asked why the self-help craze has left behind men. So these are the questions that you sent in, and they went into our vault. And right now, Tracy, what we would love for you to do is open the vault.
Love it.
So beautiful, Tracy.
That's good.
That's so cute.
What's in the vault? Ooh, how unique we all are and how to be comfortable with what works for you. Wow. Thank you, Paul, for sending in that question. And isn't it so interesting? I think this happened last week where the topic of conversation that we started with actually flows right into the question, because I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like it's a continuation in a way of talking about the things that parts of who you are that perhaps make you unique, and coming to the acceptance and being comfortable in it. Curious if any of you had some thoughts on this question from Paul.
Sherry, for me, when I think about that, and I think about, hopefully, the audience feels the same way. I love social media. I mean, it has helped me to amplify my message, as I think it has for all of us. And I think it is an amazing tool. But I also think it has made everyone an expert or a supposed expert as to not only what they do, but also what everyone else should do. And when I hear that question, I think about the important thing for me has always been to make sure that just because something works for me doesn't mean that it's supposed to work for everybody. And if someone else does something differently, that's okay. And sometimes that's maybe even better, because we may be able to learn something from them rather than trying to impose what we think people should be doing or how they should be feeling or responding differently. So I think that is a big thing for me, especially, I think this happened, of course, before social media, but I think it's definitely amplified this as a problem where everyone feels as though they have the answers. I think you have only to look at comments on some posts, right, to think that everyone thinks they have the right answer. And if you don't think the way they think, then that makes you wrong. And I think, to be comfortable enough with yourself and having your own thoughts and knowing that what you do works for you, I think should be the main thing, and not try to feel like everyone has to kowtow to the way that you see things or feel about things.
I have something to say about that.
Dive in.
Well, for everyone who's watching, like, we all don't talk to each other much in between the shows, so it's interesting how much synergy there is in what we end up talking about, and how we see things the same and differently among the four of us here. But I try my very best to not engage in political confrontations on social media, because it ends up in very bad places, right? We've seen that happen, especially the last year. But I made a comment yesterday, and then someone else made a comment with very opposing views, and I decided to check that person's Facebook page out, and scrolling, and came across a post on there, and this person happened to be religious, and it was a picture that said, if someone doesn't agree with you, then pray for them and then move on. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Are you praying for them that they change? Or maybe we should pray for ourselves and move on. Like it really struck me, and I didn't choose to engage anymore in the conversation. But this idea, kind of, Cyrus, that you're pointing to, that what if we could all just appreciate each other for who we are, even if we're wildly different, and not have that urge or entertain the urge to feel bad that that person doesn't think like I do. So there must be something wrong with you. So I'm going to pray for you because you're wrong and bad, because I'm the good one. You know, there's so
Always
much
right.
in social media, in particular, because everyone can say what they want and then hide behind the screen. But what if we could create a world where we can hear what people say, appreciate it, not agree necessarily, but be okay with, well, that's how they think, and not make them bad and wrong for it. Instead, just say, well, that's how they think, and here's how I think. And we all live in harmony. You know, what a concept that would be.
Well, I totally agree with you, Rich, and I just have an answer for this, because this is, you know, the space that I work in, which is, I believe that the reason why we have challenges accepting the way people are is because we need to create, for most of us have experienced some sort of trauma, small or big, and I always say it, but we need to create this sense of safety around us. And if everybody shows up in the box that we need them to help us feel more comfortable, you know, then we can thrive, then we can navigate through the world easier. And so it's hard for people to accept that somebody else feels differently or shows up differently, because then it affects, you know, how we personally walk in the world. And, you know, I don't think everybody's like that. I might be making generalizations, but from myself being a trauma survivor, from working with a lot of people, it's, you know, I need you to show up in this way, so then I could be a better me. And back to the question about, you know, the uniqueness and the comfort, and that's where I think that comes from. Like, how can you fully accept who you are with all of your imperfections, because all of us have them, be so comfortable in that space, knowing that there's nothing wrong with you, that then we can accept other people in that same regard and in that same space. It's big questions, but I think that's the goal.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think everybody has experienced some kind of trauma, small or big, and that really informs the way they are in the world, right? And I guess for me, I never thought about this, but I guess for me, the earliest trauma was not being in, and I remember this from kindergarten, being the last person chosen for any team on, you know, when we're playing sports, because I was the worst, I was afraid of the ball, and I was the smallest person. So nobody wanted me on their team, and I was always chosen last. And the team that got stuck with me would make a big fuss over, oh, you know, like they got stuck with me. So that feeling excluded has always been an issue for me. So I guess where I have ended up today, and I had never thought about it until today's conversation, is I would rather be included in the conversation and talk to people than have people talk about me and exclude me from that conversation. So I realize that the best way for me to do that is to just be open and honest. And usually that works. People really respond to that and they'll talk to you. And those who, you know, aren't talking to you or talking about you, it doesn't really matter, because I actually feel good because I've been able to say what I want to say. And, you know, so I'm not even thinking about the people who may be talking about me, because there are a number of people who want to talk to me, right? So I guess that's kind of where I've netted out after today's conversation. I hadn't thought about that whole, you know, journey from trauma to the way that we present ourselves in the world today.
Yeah.
I think it informs all our decisions. Go ahead, Cyrus.
No, I was just going to say, and I think too, and I am probably too good at this part, and I need to work on not being as good on it. I'm quick to cut things out that don't serve me well. And I think if to go back to the question, if you're surrounded by things and people and situations that don't make you feel valuable, don't make you feel worthy, or make you feel less than, that to me is a signal that maybe you're not in the place you need to be in. And I think that in itself can be hard Two, to get to that place, as I said, I've gotten pretty good at separating myself. But I mean, I think that also is something, because a lot of times we do stay in situations that do not serve us well, that make us feel bad. And it can affect so many aspects of our life. And I think to be able to realize that you are important enough that you should be able to, for your own good, be able to walk away from things and situations that don't serve you well or don't appreciate you, so that you can realize the greatness within yourself.
Yeah, I agree with you, Cyrus, on that. And I too am I've gotten really good at, as I say, chopping people off at the knees or things, situations. It could be anything, really. But if it isn't working for me and it continues not to work for me, then it's gone. And sometimes I can be too quick on that as well. But, I think this, with what all of us are saying here, is this is really the value of personal development work. And to be able to stand or to live in your own skin, knowing that not everyone's going to like you or care about you or think you're so amazing, which that's life. That's just life, right? We're not all meant to have everyone liking us. But if no one likes you, then that maybe is another signal. But the work for us all is this personal and spiritual development journey, and that is where we get to face these feelings of worthlessness. I'm not good enough. I was also the last kid picked on the team, and the first one hit in the head with that dang red dodgeball. So I understand that, but that's what those feelings of not being good enough are part of what led me to my own personal development work, and which continues. Like we learn more and more about ourselves, but it's up to us to get to a place where we can be with what anyone thinks about us, kind of what Patrice was saying earlier, hear it. Maybe there's something for us to take from that or not. But it's like being at a buffet. We don't do buffets anymore. It's like going clothing shopping. You pick 10 things out, you go to the dressing room and you try them all on, and they all looked great on the rack, but maybe only 2 actually fit you. And you put the rest back. They're not bad. They just weren't for you. And that's kind of the way I look at life.
Mm-hmm. So great. I love that. And Cody says, indeed, being comfortable in our own skin and wig. Yeah, some look better than others. Yes, happy International Wig Day. But, I think what it comes down to, because, the question is about the uniqueness and the comfort in our uniqueness. I mean, if we all literally were the same person, and all liked the same things and all said the same things, like what a boring world that would be. First, my fiance would be driven nuts if there was more than one of me. But truly, but the truth is that we're always, I feel like so many of us are seeking that approval and that validation, and you keep on that cycle until you can finally stop and go, okay, I like who I am, and I was given these gifts, because otherwise you're going to keep running and you're going to keep chasing, right, guys?
Right. So true.
Yeah, and so at the end of the day, we'll do one last lightning round, just like one tip and advice for somebody that, to be able to love, accept their uniqueness, or any thoughts on that? Cyrus, Patrice, sorry, hand up.
Speak your truth, as often as possible. Of course, in a kind and loving way,
Love it. Speak your truth. Cyrus.
Realize your value and walk in it.
Awesome. Great. Rich.
Go do personal development work so you can realize your value and walk in it. And speak your truth.
Yes. And mine is go grab yourself a wig and put it on, look in the mirror and say, I love you just the way you are. I just want to thank all of you guys today for tuning into another episode of Heart to Heart. We always love your questions. We love having you here with us. And if there's something that's on your heart that you would love us to have a discussion on, please email your question or topics to hearttohearttalkshow@gmail.com. We hope to see you next Wednesday at the next Heart to Heart. And remember, take care of yours and one another's. Bye, everybody. Bye, you guys.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.